Gregory, you're just going to need to remind me if it doesn't show up on YouTube, just remind me to make it public. Okay. By the way, I have him checking on the air, so hopefully that'll be fixed here shortly. It's not intolerable yet, but it's probably going to get there. So what we need to do, there's going to be some basic overlap here. Am I in the right where I want to be? Let's see, show songs. Let's see. Show songs. Okay, yeah. All right, so what I want to do, there's going to be a little bit of overlap with some of the different things that we've done before. For example, one of the first things we need to do is establish that we have a connection to the database. So I'm going to bring up the store songs, and I'm going to do a little bit of copying and pasting here. So, for example, right off the bat here, we want to double check if we have a database connection. So we're going to drop down a little bit because in this, we're just going to display everything, so we don't need the artist, CD, and song stuff. We're going to drop down right here to where it says database connection. That's where we're going to be at. We're going to grab that. I can remember what computer I'm on, Control C. And we're going to stick that over. All the while reminding ourselves that what this is going to do is establish a connection and return a true or false if it gets it. So then we're going to grab this if then else statement down to where it says else. We're going to grab that and stick it over here as well. Now, hopefully everybody is good with me and knows and understands what's going on so far. MySQL Connect is a PHP construct that requires 3 parameters. The first parameter is the address of the server. The next parameter is the user name, and the last is the password. That gets stored into a variable called dbconnect. dbconnect actually contains a true or a false. So this next statement, if dbconnect is strictly equal to false, we're saying unable to connect to that database. Otherwise, we can proceed on to do the various things that we want. So for example, we need to decide what is the name of the database we're going to use. So I'm going to come over on my other piece of code because I know that it works. And I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm not going to actually comment on anything until I do something new. All right? All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if not MySQL underscore select underscore database. This is going to be new. DB name, comma, DB connect. If not that, we are going to print we're going to say there's not a database called database name. Else, Gregory, question. That shouldn't make a difference. we didn't work with the workbench except for the very first 10 minutes of class. The rest of the time we worked with code, right? You remember? As long as you have your table, that's all you need. And you had your table, because I saw it working. You had your table. All right, so else, we're going to say the table name that we want. What's the name of our table over in the database? Fave Songs. Now we're going to set up our SQL string. What I want to do is I want to select everything from my table. Can you remember the SQL, structured query language, statement that displays everything in a table? Select star from table name. So that's going to be my statement here. So the string is going to contain whatever my SQL statement is. So select star from table name. We can modify that. I'll wait until you're done. Jane? Bless you. Yes, I do. Thank you. Don't worry. The parser would have caught that for me eventually. Irritated me. So this is the place that, let's say that we want to search for something. We would extend that out to say select star from table name where some criteria, right? Or select only a field. Say we want to search by last name and show the first name. Select last name from table name where first name equals some criteria. That's where we adjust this. And I take a moment to point that out, because when you get your final project in a few minutes, that's where you're filling in the gaps. The dirty secret that nobody tells you at the beginning of all of this is once you get the basics down, it's nothing but a bunch of copying and pasting and modifying. But you got to have the basics down. You got to understand the basics first. Then it makes everything else easy. You can't copy and paste until you do that. So try to point out these areas where you can do basic modification. So the next thing we want to do is execute the query. So we're going to say query result equals MySQL underscore query. It's going to ask for two parameters. It's going to ask for the query and the resource link identifier. So the query is that SQL string that I just created. And then the resource link identifier is what? Do you remember that from the other day? Very good. DB Connect. I did that just to make sure you're paying attention. Good job. All right. We're going to do one last if statement here, and this is going to check to see if there's any entries in the database. If there are no entries in the database, we have nothing to draw. We don't have a table to draw, so we want to notify the users, well, there's nothing in the table that you want. So we're going to say if MySQL underscore num rows. If you think about this, it makes sense. MySQL num rows query results. is equal to 0, print there's no records in the table. Yes. Shane is just nailing it today. Good job, man. Yet another test you passed. If you've ever created a table in HTML, we're using all HTML to draw this table, but we're going to draw the table dynamically. So it's not going to be static data that we're going to put into this. I'll explain everything as we go through. So this is going to be a table. I want to say width. That's an attribute. I want to make my width 100%. I want to put a border on it. And I'll make that 1. That is measured in, by the way, I put a dash instead of an equals. That is measured in pixels for the record. The next thing we're going to do is actually put the headers in. TR stands for table row. TH stands for table header. Count as PK. End that table header. I got another table header called artist. And that table header. I got another table header called CD album. You guys still call them albums? Yeah. And then I got a last one called favorite song. Then I'm going to end that table header, and then I'm going to end that table row. I'm going to split this up a little bit so it doesn't run off. Put quotes around that. I'm going to come over here. I want to show you so when I say show songs, what we've done is we've drawn this right here. Okay, that's that header. Now we get dynamic. Everything else is going to be dynamic. All right, let's take a minute and read this. So all of this is going to be statically drawn as long as there's something in the table. Now we're getting into the condition for drawing the table. While something is in the query result, all right, as long as there's another row and it's an associative array, so that's telling me that it's going to be based on the field names from the database. So row at position, whatever the field name is in the database, because it's an associative array. Are you with me? Everybody kind of getting that? I'm going to output everything to the screen. So here we go. Print table row. Now it's going to be TD for table data. We're going to say row, that's that associative array now, at position. Anybody know? Can you remember the name of the first column in your database? Because I want to output all of the columns in the database. What do you got? It's not PK. Say the second thing. Count. That's the name of the field from the database. Got it? So it's going to be row at position count. Run out. Oh, she's okay. If you got to leave, go ahead. I'm recording it. I understand. Okay, that's the end of that table data chunk. All right? Then I'm going to keep on going. I'm breaking this up. I could just print it all out in one, but I'm breaking it up so you can see it a little bit easier. Now I'm going to do a table data, another table data. What's the next field in my database? Do you remember? But what did we call it in the database? What was the field name? Because this is it's pulled an associative array when it made a call out to the database. So we have to refer to it by the database field name. You're right, it's the artist, but what do we call it over in the database? Art. Uppercase or lowercase? All over. All over. And that's going to end that table data. And you're going to do two more, one for each of the other fields. So another table data chunk. This is going to be at position, what was it called over there? CD. Yep, I heard somebody mumble it. CD. And that chunk of table data. Then finally, the last chunk anybody remember what this one was called? Song. Yep. Now on this particular one, we need to close off two different items here. The table data, but this was also a row, so that ends that table row as well. Now we're going to end the while loop. Next we're going to end the else. Whoops. For number of rows. Now I want to free my result. Now I'm going to end outer if. Oh, come on. Going to close my database connection. We'll save it off. Parse error, unexpected print, line 27. Unbalanced if statement. Thanks, Shane. You let me down, man. Woohoo! There we go. I got another weird warning. Let's see what that is. I got a little mess up there. That's how that needs to be formatted. The way I was saying it before, it wasn't going to work appropriately, which is why I got the error. There we go. So my warning was right here on line 26, I actually had query result equals 0. That's not, boy, how it should have read. You edit that, it should work just fine. Now, as you add more things into your database, take a minute and play with it. As you add more things into your database, you should be able to go to show songs and see you're adding more things in. Now, we're not done. We still need to delete something from the database. Sure. Let's have a look.
Unidentified index for art, CD, and song.
See if maybe you capitalized yours.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yep. You're welcome. All right, I hear no yelling and screaming, so it sounds like it worked appropriately. I'll give you another minute to work on it. Go ahead. What's up? What's wrong? My guess is when you're storing stuff, you're not in sync with your database field name. Go back into your database, check the name of your favorite song, and then go into where you're storing it and make sure that you didn't misspell something there. That's my guess.
I wasn't actually here to have the database done or anything. We didn't do it.
Make it up.
Just make a random database and we'll just
There's very specific things you have to do. I'll have to get you the stuff. Okay.
my work.
Missing class sucks, doesn't it? I know you were sick or something. My guess you got a misspelling, because I know I spelled my DB Connect with a capital C. So if you followed suit,
What is that error state saying? I have no idea. Like, I don't even know the meaning of that.
well, if you read it, it does. It tells you. query is equal to 0. Print that. Let's print that. And then we free the result. So the query result has your string, your DB connect. That all looks good up there. Press space for me. Just want to see it go up. Let's go row num. Delete that and just retype it. See if that fixes it. Parse error. I can't help with parse errors.
I don't understand why.
I can't help with parse errors.
I fixed it and it still didn't work.
You're unbalanced. All right, I want to keep on moving on. I know you're not all fixed up. You'll be okay. You'll survive. We got to move on. We got to finish this up. Unless you really don't want enough time to get your project done. All right, here we go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to delete a song from a database. Now what you need to think about with this form is I click on delete song from database. And I'm asking for the record to delete based on the primary key. And notice how I spit out the entire table here. All right. So if I come in and I say, let's put in 26 and delete that, notice that I'm going to go from delete record. I click on submit and I go to another page called gone. All right. Notice how similar show songs, delete songs, and then gone look. So we have a lot of code reuse. Matter of fact, about the only thing that we need to change is we got to put a form in. And then when we go to that gone, that's going to be on my handler. I need to change my query to delete a record based on the primary key that the user entered. Everybody with me? So let's give it a shot. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to modify the delete song from database. So that is going to be delete record. I'm going to pull up my show songs so that I can copy and paste some stuff over from there. Notice that I already put in your form. All right? I put the form in for you. So, got some basics we're going to put in. For example, that database connection. Might as well reuse that. So why didn't it do that? Hey, I think the air conditioner's on. Does it feel cooler in here or no? Maybe it's just me. The next thing we want to do is we want to check the database connection. Make sure that we're connecting to a database. Matter of fact, we're just going to take all of this. Because once you fix whatever you messed up on the one, you'll be good on the next. So we're going to take all that and we're going to put it up there. So what's the difference? Well, we just have that form down here at the bottom. So make sure you go out and when you click on Delete Song, it brings up your form. We're going to reuse a lot of the stuff off of the show songs again. Come on. Okay. So here we go. We need let's go down to table name. We're going to grab all of that, put it over. This is going to actually say it's going to change from there's not a database called to, let me see, I want to change this slightly. There are no entries. No, that's fine. We can leave it like that. That'll be fine. Table name. So this is going to be some new stuff in between here and here. I want to say ID or PK, however you want to call it. If we think back when we inserted stuff in, we wanted to strip the slashes. Just strip slashes. We don't need to do strip C slashes. And then that post from the field, and it's called record over there. They want to set up a SQL string. I've shown you multiple times at this point that we're deleting a record from the database where the primary key equals whatever the user entered. In general, I'll get you the rest of the way, what is my SQL statement going to look like? Good. It's going to, not everything, because I want to just delete the ID of the record, right? So delete what? Going to delete a row. What else? Right, yeah, we got the pieces, all right? So let's line them all up. You ready? Delete. Delete what? Delete what? Well, we have to say delete from. Well, what's the from? Delete from table name. Very good. Delete from table name. Where So there's my where clause. Count equals ID. Remember, this is an SQL statement. If I was in my SQL Workbench and I changed that ID to whatever the user entered, it would delete out that record. So delete from table name, fave songs, where count equals whatever the user entered on that form. All right? Now we're going to execute the query. Query result equals MySQL query then these two resources, the string and the database connection information. Yes. No, because I'm only doing one. If it makes you feel more comfortable to do that, you feel free. But I'm only executing one thing. So now I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab the rest of my code. Starting at SQL string. I think I'm okay with that. I think. We'll see. Whoops. I know that'll work. The only thing I want to clean up just a tad is I want to put a break in right here. That's all. I'm going to clean up my output just a little bit, be a little bit more readable. As you're testing, you might run out of records to delete, so you might want to fix that. So what I'm going to do in just a minute, I want to pass out the last project, and then between me and your neighbor, hopefully we'll get you guys taken care of, those of you that are struggling a little bit with some stuff. And then we're almost into cruise control mode for the remainder of the semester. I might have a little bit more content than I want to deliver to you, but I want you to work on this, this database stuff, all right?